Hi guys, I'm going to do a video on how to replace the stock belt tensioner with the Porken tensioner. Now I'm only going to do a video on actually replacing the tensioner. As far as the belt goes, changing the belt, there's plenty of tutorial videos and forums on that, so just look that up. But this is just the part so that when you get the Porken tensioner in the box and you're looking at the bolts and kind of confused at where they go, this will clear it up for you. First thing I'm going to do is just simply take off the stock tensioner, 13 mil socket. Now this part of the bracket is actually for the smog pump, or the air pump as it's also called. Now that is deleted in my car, so I've got the bracket with the Porken tensioner that does not use a smog pump. As a matter of fact, it's the same bracket, it just comes with another piece that adds on to supply the spot for the pump to go. Now honestly, unless it's for really serious purist stock collecting purposes or something, the smog pump is the most useless thing that's ever been invented on Earth. I don't believe it does anything to control emissions. It only claims to. It's a waste of space and a waste of time, and it really should always be deleted. Okay, now I've got the stock tensioner off. I'm going to stop the video right now because the front of my engine here is disgustingly dirty, and I'm going to clean it up quickly, and then I'll see you in about 2 seconds. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cleaned that up a bit, and point out a few things here to begin with. Now this area here had a gasket on it because this hole here goes into an oil system. Now the original uses oil to do its thing. I don't know exactly how it fully works, but the point is the Porken tensioner does not use oil. It is a mechanical spring system with no oil. So what we need to do is this oil needs to be sealed up. Now I was told that the best thing to use is a substance called good stuff or great stuff or something like that, but I couldn't find it. So what I'm going to do is just use a generous amount of gasket former and put that on the thread and around that hole. But anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. What I need to show you first is the tensioner itself. Now, when you get it, it comes with a lot of extra parts that you don't need, partly because mine is the one, or the system, that does not use the air pump or the smog pump. I deleted that. Now if you're changing your Porken tensioner while you're at it, I would highly recommend that you delete that smog pump, or air pump as they call it, because it is pretty much completely useless and does nothing to control emissions, and it's a waste of space, and it's one more belt system that your engine has to drive, wasting power. But that's up to you. That's your choice, and I guess it depends on the laws in your area. Now we're going to assemble this before we actually bolt it onto the engine. The first thing you'll notice is that the bolt that it comes with, there's no thread in these holes. It goes there, but the bolt does not fit through. Now maybe it does on a different engine, I don't know. I imagine that's why that bolt's there. So what we need to do is swap that bolt out with this one. Simple to do. Put that in there, and then put that in there. Now what I'm going to do is use a touch of thread lock. Now I don't know if you're supposed to or not, but it doesn't hurt. Not too much, because you don't want it to get on or seep through to the part that's actually rotating on the arm, the bearing, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to use a tiny dab. Just a little extra insurance that that's not going to come undone. So I will put a washer on it, and I'll tighten that up. Now this is the type that is crimped at the end, so it does help it, or it does ensure a little bit more that it won't come undone. I don't know the torque settings to these. I couldn't find any, so I'm just simply going to make it tight. Now I'm satisfied that it's not going to come off. Might be a little bit useless, but it does not hurt to put a little bit of extra thread lock on the end of that. Call me paranoid, but I know that if the components come off that allow your timing belt to fail or skip a tooth, you can totally screw your engine. So, okay, now the next part. Oh. The pulley. Now the pulley again comes with a bolt holding it together, and it too does not fit through. So what you have to do again here is swap the bolt out. You swap it with this one. This one goes through, and it goes all the way through. Now make sure that this arm is back. You're putting it like that, and again I'm going to put a washer. I'm going to put a little bit of thread lock and the same kind of bolt, or nut I should say, that is crimped, which helps it ensure that it's not going to come undone. And this happens to be 13 mil, by the way, or ½ inch, pretty much the same thing. Tightening it up and making sure it is nice and tight. Again, it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of thread lock on it. Okay, so we've gotten that far. Now, okay, back to the engine block again. Now, remembering that that hole will leak oil through if I don't seal it. So I'm going to take this stud, which is provided, and I'm going to put some gasket goo around it. That should seal it up pretty good. It's gasket former, or whatever you want to call it. Make sure that's in there well, all the way. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it this way first, just to make sure that it's wound all the way in properly. Just lightly. I don't want the nut to stick on there. Okay, so as you can see, there's a ring of gasket goo around that already, so that's going to seal it up pretty good. So I'll put it on there, and I don't know if you can see closely. I'm not going to zoom in. You can already see some gasket formers squished out, so that's a good seal. Next up is this, the sunken head bolt, which goes right here. Now this one I'm not using any thread lock because it actually, as I tested before, it reaches a certain point and then it starts to bite pretty snug, so it's not going to back off. And I'm just making sure it's tight. And next, take this bolt. Oops, wrong one. This bolt. And I will put it in there. Call me a little paranoid, but I'm going to put a little Loctite. Now I'm going to put a little Loctite just on the rim. That way, if this does have to come undone one day, it's not going to be hell, but it should help a little bit in sticking it in place. I know there's probably quite a few of you, as I'm trying to talk over this stupid police helicopter that we waste our tax money on, them flying around for $100 an hour. And it's getting in my way of my voice. Anyway, end of rant. Just snugging that up. Now keep in mind, I am an amateur. I'm not a real mechanic, although I do know a lot about it for an amateur. So this might not be exactly the right way to do it, but it is going to be a way that is safe and it will operate safely, and the engine will not get destroyed from the belt coming loose. Alright, so I do know that these two bolts have a torque setting of 39 foot-pounds. The rest of them, I couldn't find any torque settings. So I might as well do these ones at 39 foot-pounds. There you go. As for that hole and that bolt, no bolt was supplied, so it's not going to get one. The next part is the tensioner spring, plunger, whatever you want to call it itself. Now making sure that that operates properly, and in fact I'm going to put a little bit of assembly lube on there. Necessary? Probably not. But does it hurt any? I can't see why it would. So, just going to put a little smear of that on there. And then it'll be lubed for that. I mean, that's not going to be moving around a lot, so the wear will be minimal, if any, ever. Next part goes on here. 3 bolts supplied. Now obviously that pin is in there for a reason. You do not want to pull the pin until you've got the bolts, the belt timed and set and finished, because that spring is very strong. It's going to be very hard to get it back in. In fact, you probably need to set it up on a vise to do so. So leave the pin in. Again, I'm going to be paranoid and put just a tad of thread lock on these. And it is 10 mil. And why not, while I'm at it, put a tiny dab of assembly lube on there. Can't hurt any. Now, again, no torque settings were given to me with this, so I'm simply going to do it tight. One of the main reasons I am using thread locks on some of these is because I didn't get torque settings, and my thread lock is giving me kind of a peace of mind. Now I want it to be tight, but I do not want to strip the threads. These are smaller bolts, so they probably would strip a little easier. So I'm just doing it tight with the thread lock as some insurance. And that's it. It's all assembled and ready for the belt. It makes me feel a little weird that there's a hole there, but there's no bolt hole for it, or there's no bolt for it. But I mean, there's 1, 2, and the third one under there. So it seems to me like it's going to hold in place. They did not supply a bolt for it, so I guess it doesn't need one. There you go. It's done. Hopefully it's done correctly. I do believe it is going to hold together. Now, any professional mechanic might be screwing up his face thinking I did it totally wrong. But it's on there. Everything's lined up. Everything's good. So it's ready for the belt. My main purpose of this video was because I looked around for videos to show how to do it. And as you may have noticed by the way I did it, there wasn't any. So I took the best of my knowledge in figuring out and asked a few questions to figure out how this went on, and this is how it goes together. At least you know that much, and you've seen a sample. Thanks for watching.